Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Cognitive Recalibration Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Shravan. We have Taran here with us,
Hello.
sitting next to me for a change this time.
Mm.
Yeah. And we're joined by returning special guest, Kireeti. Welcome back.
Hi.
You're very keen to...
Thanks for having me.
Well, we'll say that at the end. We'll see how this episode goes.
Yeah, I'm going to struggle. You got me in bulk today.
So we... Well, you wanted to come on for a couple of episodes, but obviously Dune Part 2 has come out very recently. One of the biggest movies of this year. One of the most anticipated movies for a lot of people for a long time. We've got Paul right behind you as well.
Oh, is that new?
Yeah, it's I got it maybe a couple of months ago. Yeah.
Is that displayed?
Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna jump to our thoughts on Dune Part 2 first. We'll go through non-spoilers before we jump into any spoilers. So we'll clearly indicate when we jump into spoilers later in the episode. But we'll definitely do non-spoilers first. So if you haven't seen it, you can keep listening. We are also going to have a word on the Last Airbender, the Netflix show. We'll probably spend about 5 minutes later in the episode.
Yes, sure.
Taran?
Huh?
Is that news to you that we're doing?
Yeah. I've only seen one episode.
Same.
I'll talk deeply about that one
I've
episode.
seen a few. I think after you get past the first episode, that's all you need to watch.
Yeah. We'll talk about it later. I have some thoughts, but
Because my reasoning was, I don't think we won't, even if we watch the whole thing, we're not going to spend a whole episode talking about it. So
probably not. Yeah.
Let's talk about it in this episode, and we'll also cover a bit of the Spider-Man 2 PS5 as well. We were going to do a full episode on it, but time's passed, and
Some big hitters in this one.
I still haven't finished it.
Yeah, I haven't finished it.
I know the story though.
I don't have a PS5, so I haven't played it at all. But then you've done everything, 100%.
Yeah.
No, but you skipped through Avatar though.
Hey.
You skipped through Avatar, didn't you?
Yeah, I got there.
We'll talk about it later.
I've got through more of Avatar than you guys have.
We'll talk about that. Yeah.
But Dune Part 2 first. So Denis Villeneuve.
June.
June.
Is it June or is it June?
You said the same thing twice, or
Don't worry about it. Just
One's
kidding.
with the J.
Dune. Denis Villeneuve, he's back directing it. So the first Dune came out in 2021. I remember it came out during our lockdowns, so we didn't watch it in the cinema. I don't know if did you end up going and watching it? No. I never watched it in the cinema, the first one.
I think I did.
Yeah, they did release, when the cinemas reopened, they did have shows for it. But it was like
2 months after it came out.
Yeah, it was like 2 or 3 months after it came out. But this time I did go for a double screening of Dune Part 1 and 2.
There's no point watching any of these movies at home, I reckon.
Yeah. It definitely made a massive difference watching Part 1 in the cinema. Because watching it on this, like just a normal screen, it was like okay, but you don't really get the sense of the visual and especially the audio, like Hans Zimmer's score.
Yeah.
It really, it's really amplified when you watch it in the theater.
The screaming lady.
Yes.
She rocks. She's not even there in number 2. Like,
she is. She comes like
once or twice.
Yeah.
But in number 1, she like.
I don't know if you remember, but there was a period of time where we used to go watch movies.
Yeah,
and that trailer used to come on, and then when it got really sad, I used to be like that lady.
The voice. Yeah. She's
Still
in
like
her.
her.
She's
Still
in a
like
bit
her.
in the
Yeah.
Part 2, but in Part 1 she's.
Do you know what it reminds me of? You probably haven't seen. Have you seen Community before?
Yeah.
Do you know there's this episode where Abed directs a movie about him being Jesus, and he's Jesus, but he's also Abed. And
I watched Community a long time ago. I can't remember this episode.
There's background music in that episode, and it sounds like the background. It sounds like that.
Probably
lady.
is the same.
It's like Hans Zimmer.
That's how she won. Yeah, that's how
Ripped
she
off that Community episode.
That's how she won the role. As the lead singer of Hans Zimmer's score.
But okay, so Part 1, just a story on my experience. I had a full day at work. I started work early that day as well, and if you're going to do 1 and 2 like together, definitely do it when you have energy, because I forgot how long Part 1 was, and then Part 2 is also very long.
So you watch 1 and 2 together, which would have been like 5.5
It was like
hours?
6 hours.
6 hours?
Yeah,
Which
with like breaks.
you invited me to come along, but I just knew my attention span would not last that long.
These are like, you have to concentrate in these movies. They're not.
Where did you watch it?
Chadston.
Hoyts?
Yeah.
Oh, crap. Okay, so
Extreme
they're
screen.
actually doing it.
Yeah.
I thought it was some special.
I know IMAX did it as well.
IMAX did it as well, but the tickets were like $100.
Yeah.
Like,
Jesus, yeah.
nah.
I don't think
Also-
IMAX is even worth it anymore.
Yeah.
For this movie, it's probably good. Well,
It's not
I don't know
shot
if it's
in
worth
IMAX.
that
Hey, it's
money,
like $50, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's not shot. This one's not shot in IMAX. It's upscaled. It's not like Christopher
but nah,
Nolan's
but
movies.
they shot it in film and then they
I think they
converted
converted
to
it to
IMAX
Yeah.
and then they converted to digital afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's still apparently
I don't think
put on IMAX.
Yeah. I think the main thing's the audio. If you have a theater with good audio, then it's
I watched it
house.
in VMAX, which is
I watched
great.
it in VMAX as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The people next to us, I think they thought it was just part 2. They just booked a ticket for part 2, even though it was like double the price. So they asked me, like, after the first part ended, they're like, "Oh, was that the new movie?" I'm like, "No, that was part 1." It even said at the start of the movie, part 1. And they're
Wait,
like, and I'm
there's
like,
many problems that are raised by that statement. Firstly, if they bought tickets to number 2,
First one,
they bought tickets to number 2 and
Yeah.
they didn't realize they're watching number 1, which meant they never saw number 1.
yeah, that's the thing. If they've seen
Which
number
means-
1, then they would have realized it as it started. They would have been like, "This is number 1."
yeah. And then they're like, "Oh,
What? They wouldn't have understood number 2 anyway.
yeah."
Although maybe you would.
You would understand a bit of the story, but it's
Yeah.
really. Anyway, we'll get into this, but
Yeah.
mate, the lore in Dune is like really hard to actually
Yeah.
pick up, even if you watch number 1.
Yeah. Anyway, they left after part 1 because they.
Also, they did stay for part 2.
No, I'm
Oh my
like, part
God.
two's starting in 10 minutes, and they're like, "Oh, we thought this was part 2, and they had to go home, so they like just went home.
Oh my
Oh.
god,
Yeah.
were they
What
rich?
age group?
Oh, they were like maybe like mid-20s.
Oh, okay, so they're
Still.
young as well.
Yeah.
If it was older, if it was like 50s, I would have felt sad for them. But
Yeah.
they should have known better. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah.
Sure. But runtime would in the movie, the runtime would be
Yeah.
listed as like 6 hours or something.
yeah, it said like 5.5 hours, but and they also paid like more. It
Yeah.
would have been like it was like $45 for 2. So
Maybe went out and got a refund.
I don't think so. You had to buy the ticket for both. You couldn't buy
Maybe
just
they
one.
did vouchers or something.
Yeah. You couldn't use that. It was like a special screening.
Oh,
so
wow.
I think they just lost their money.
cooked us.
Mm.
But all right, Dune 2, let's get into it in terms of our thoughts. I was going to go through the cast, but it's a massive cast. Tim Cham is the main. That's what we call him, Tim Cham. That's our
Tim Cham, Tim Zendaya, Josh Brolin,
yeah, Josh Brolin,
Khal Drogo's dead.
Javier Bardem,
Javier Bardem. It's a big cast, and
Christopher Walken.
yeah, he's Florence Pugh.
That was rogue. Is Christopher Walken being in this movie is very rogue, don't you think? I agree with
Yeah,
Jeremy
Apparently,
Barnes' review.
it's like some elaborate. There's a song by a fat. Have you heard about this? There was a song
No.
by Fatboy Slim in the 90s
That references Dune.
that had Christopher Walken in the music like video, and it
Right.
referenced Dune.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's the reason why he's cast him.
probably.
But
not,
also,
yeah.
I know Christopher Walken had that like grandeur or like that presence as the Emperor. I felt like he didn't.
Correct.
Felt like he was just.
That's why I
Christopher
reckon it's
Walken.
yeah,
a bit of a rogue cast.
Yeah. I don't know if he nailed that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think they chose anyone that was available that was old.
Yeah.
That people knew.
All right, we can jump into positives. We'll just go around the room and talk about it. Do you want to start first?
I think this is, well, I'll say that the first like 60 to 70% of the movie, I think was time. The pacing was very good and it was very interesting. There was a lot of good action. So it's quite, I felt like you would finally, when the first movie finishes, you're thinking that you're going to be experiencing this new world of the Fremen and the desert and stuff. And you actually get that for the first, like, I don't
Most
know.
of the
It's
movie.
like, yeah, for like 1 hour, 45 minutes or whatever. It's quite interesting. It's slow, but it's meaningful and there's good character development and there's things that are happening. It's good music. So I was pretty happy with that. And I think they spent enough, to an extent, they spent good time kind of exploring how the main character is going to have to get used to that new environment. So I thought that was good positive. Action was quite good.
A lot more action than the first one. which
Yeah,
is- yeah.
more action. Yeah,
The first
Yeah.
one's doesn't really have action, honestly. Yeah.
It's
Yeah, it
got a
doesn't
couple
really.
of worm scenes, but that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it has like that invasion scene
That's it.
At
yeah.
the end. Yeah.
and a little Khal Drogo doing his thing.
Mm.
I think the first one, by the way, just really proves that what's his name he's not very good at acting, is he?
Jason Momoa.
Yeah.
Oh,
As in,
really?
like, there's no.
I can't remember it. Well,
He's not very. He's just Khal Drogo.
yeah,
he's
he's
Khal Drogo
yeah.
in Aquaman. He's Khal Drogo in water.
Yeah.
It's the same.
I think he's got one
crazy
character which
cowboy.
he plays well. Yeah,
Except
It's
in
just-
Fast X.
Nah, in Fast X, he's the same guy, but
he's
slightly
more crazy.
Yeah.
It's like
slightly metrosexual. And like,
he's like unhinged. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, just a bit crazy. But like, yeah. In any case, the action was quite good.
Mm.
There was more like there's a lot of sword fights and kind of physical sort of fighting rather than just. A good thing about Dune, and not getting to spoilers or anything, but because of the law and the sort of the fighting, the way of fighting that they have available to them, it has to be physical fighting. It's not like Call
You
of Duty
can't just
fighting.
shoot
It's
people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So that's pretty cool.
which I forgot when I first watched this movie. I'm like, why don't they just shoot people? I'm like, oh yeah, they can't.
You can't, and
Yeah.
also you can't. It's tricky as well. So there's things that people forget, but apparently you can't use your shield in the desert because it attracts the worms.
Mm.
So that's one thing, and you also don't shoot people because of armor. I don't know.
You can't shoot people because the speed of the bullet will stop
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
have your armor on.
if you have
but,
your armor. Yeah,
But then I guess if you don't have your shields on in the desert,
then you could get
can
shot.
shoot.
Yeah,
you can
Yeah.
shoot people.
Yeah.
And I think they do that. It's interesting. There's also there's a few things like how big are these worms and can they not swallow up these massive machines that people are
Mm.
putting down? Or I think maybe there's
Well,
Or I
the
think
first
they're
one
distracting.
it does swallow like one of those.
it does, right? But in this one, I think that the machines that the Harkonnens are bringing down are massive and they're pounding the ground in an abnormal way so that it's not rhythmic. I don't know. Anyway, in any case, I think there's a lot of cool things. There's some scenes that are shot really well. They're really good at, I found in the first movie especially, but even the second one, very good at showing scale.
Yeah.
They always have this one shot, like they'll show something happening and they'll zoom out and you'll see how small or how big things are in comparison. So there's a lot of events and a lot of things that happen in this where they're just epic. Like right at the start, there's some Harkonnen people that they just like start like in silence. They're just like flying up, like that scene where they're just like flying up on top of mounds and stuff. It's just the way it's shot and the way things are done. It just has good impact. I think, Denis has done a good job in that regard. I can't think of anything else. What about you guys?
Surprisingly, I thought I would hate this guy, but I actually thought it was really good. Austin Butler in this movie he's actually very good. Yeah. Probably like the standout for me. Timothy Chalamet is also excellent.
Yeah.
But
I thought Rebecca Ferguson was also very good.
But this weird creep looking dude is yeah.
I think every main character does a pretty good job. If they get screen time, they do a good job.
Yeah.
Except for Christopher Walken Closet. Yeah.
Yeah, but also, what's it called? Walking closet.
Christopher Walken Closet.
Oh, Jesus. Interesting. When'd you come up with this crap?
just
then?
off the spot. Yeah.
Nice.
And there's also like they only show one other planet in this, and very interesting that other planet, like just visually. Yeah.
The Harkonnen one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It is in the trailer. You see it. Yeah.
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 It is weird that they only chose to show that. There are some things.
Apparently, in the Dune lore,
It's because
they never show any other planet.
Oh, okay.
It's only on Dune. Yeah.
only on.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it Arrakis?
All right.
Well, it's
Arrakis,
Dune.
yeah.
Yeah.
He says it. It's
Yeah.
Dune as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, they show that one other planet in this, and I thought it was visually interesting. Yeah.
There's a reason for the color scheme as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
because of the sun. Yeah. Yeah.
Say that again.
The sun.
The sun's black,
They have
yeah.
a black sun.
They have a black sun. That's why it's in black and white, that whole segment.
Ah.
Yeah.
They have a black sun.
Yeah. And that's why they're all like pale as well, like all of the
It
Harkonnens.
makes no sense. The sun absorbs light. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's visually
Yeah.
interesting.
It is
yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is interesting. They got they have a lot of interesting stuff that happens in that little scene when you get introduced to him.
Yeah. And it's quite a large segment. Like, it's like 20 minutes, that whole
Yeah.
backstory for him. Yeah.
I will say, though, it is the way he speaks in this.
He's still got that Elvis accent a little bit, doesn't he?
But
Well, apparently he's meant to have the same accent as his uncle.
Yeah.
Stellan Skarsgård.
But
Yeah.
did you hear about?
But then Batista doesn't have it.
Yeah, but just doesn't have it. Yeah.
But
then it
Batista
sounds
can't
like-
do another accent. Right?
Yeah, so that's the confusing part is that Austin Butler, when he speaks, I kept thinking it was his uncle, the Baron.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the Baron was speaking, and so then I just kept getting confused as to what was going on until they actually show him speaking. I was like, oh, it is him speaking. So
I think it's just because Dave Bautista can't do an accent, and if they wanted him to, it would be laughable. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought he was good, though, in terms of
Dave Bautista. Yeah, he's good. Yeah, he's just a cuck in this movie.
Yeah.
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 I was expecting a bit more, I must say, from his character.
He does get, he's
They build him up quite a bit in the first.
In the first one, yeah, they did.
But in the trailers, they build him up. They build him in trailers, and then he does fuck all.
Yeah,
he doesn't do much. I must say, yeah. Look, I think this movie's really good at all the build up is excellent. I'm not sure if I'll discuss it in this or whether I'll go into it in spoilers, but I have issues with some execution at the end of the movie. But I think overall, like everything is like really, it's awesome and like really enthralling for about 2 hours or so.
Yeah, I think I really enjoyed it, but also I think this is not for everyone. It's probably the hardest sci-fi thing I've ever seen because it's so. They don't make any like concessions for like, oh, let's make this appeal to the mass audience or whatever. They just made it and they're like, this is it and this is what it's going to be. Whereas if you look at like Star Wars and stuff, they will make concessions to make it appeal to a wider audience. I think that has it has advantages and disadvantages. I think one thing in this is that so I think the director, he wants to like be as kind of as pure in the style and essence of what Dune is supposed to be as it's written. He sticks to that, but then you don't have the time to explain. So in the books, apparently the lore is explained through like letters and through various things and thoughts of the characters. Firstly, it's really hard to do in a movie. But secondly, if you do it, it'll end up looking like the 1984 Dune. Yeah, it's just
which is like trash. Yeah. It's like the princess talking to the screen for like half the movie and people like, what the hell is this?
I'm pretty sure in the book, like before every chapter, the princess has like a...
Yeah, the princess has like a letter that's penned. Yeah.
So I think in this, I did get to certain points and I wasn't sure what characters' motivations were. And then afterwards, I had to kind of look it up. I did some research on this actually. And like, it makes sense. But if you just watch the movie, probably doesn't make it.
I actually think the lore actually does not make any sense. Dune 1 and Dune 2, if you watch the movies, you will not understand anything.
I don't think you fully understand what's happening. Well, you understand it, but you don't fully understand.
I think I only understood this movie because I watched a video that explained Dune 1 by this guy called Alt Shift X who does like this. He explains a lot of Game of Thrones videos, but he's like read the books. And so what he does is he goes through the first movie, he goes through key times and he says, this is what happens in the movie. And this is why it makes sense according to the movie lore. And this is what happens in the book. This is why characters would have the motivation if it was explained by the book. And so if you put 2 and 2 together, things make sense. But you also realize very quickly that there is a big gap, just like in Game of Thrones, where there's things that either directors skipped on or things that aren't explained that I think eventually you'll start getting the lore veering away from.
Well, he doesn't stick to the books as well. He makes changes.
He's made a few changes.
And look, if this was Star Wars and he made the changes that he made, people would lose their shit. But I don't think anyone cares enough about Dune to kind of, or I don't think anyone likes the Dune original novels that much that they care about him making changes.
I think it's because the Dune novels are really hard to read.
Yeah.
And I think the changes he made are probably for the better anyway. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you read the Dune, you can tell. So the Dune novels, if you've read Game of Thrones, you can tell how much George R.R. Martin was basing his novels off Dune, because in Dune, it's like everyone has their own motivations. It's all very complex, and it's all politics. It's all about thinking and politics and stuff like that. And you can tell, like in this movie, there are various entities like the Bene Gesserit who can control or influence people and like use their voice to control people. There is supposed to be in the books. There's like a group of advisors that are I can't remember what the name is, but you know the Asian dude who betrays the guy in the first movie.
He gets killed in the start of this one by Austin Butler.
No, he's killing them.
No, that's the
Who's
guy.
that guy?
He's just some martial arts dude. He's the head of he's actually the martial arts director for the movie. He got cast.
Was he in the first one?
Nah, this is just some other Asian
some
dude.
other guy,
Racist
It's some
bastard.
Asian guy.
Yeah.
I thought it was the guy from the
It's
first.
that guy's dead.
That
Does
guy
that guy
gets killed in
die?
the first movie.
Oh,
He gets
okay.
killed by the Baron.
Yeah.
This guy is just he's just an Atreides guy that gets captured.
The way they introduce him, I thought he was someone that, First, I thought it was Josh Brolin when they show him from the back. And then, obviously, he's not. He's Asian. But it's-
Well, there's 3 people that they have, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
3 people that get sacrificed.
But
One
2 of
guy
them
is a
are-
big guy that kind of looks like Josh Brolin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is all like, so that guy that, I forgot what they're called, but in the first movie, he just betrays them.
Mm.
He betrays them, says something about his wife, and then he just gets killed, and you're left like, oh, what the hell was that? In the books, it's more complex, and they actually explain that he's part of a group of people that generally are advisors, and they're also addicted to spice, and they also use spice in their own way. And they're like a different sort of power brokering group. So then there's like the Bene Gesserit versus those guys who are kind of opposed. And then you have like people in their own house that have their own intentions. So it's all quite complex. I think in this, it just seems like events happen and they're actually interesting enough that it captures you, you know.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, wow, you know. And you can actually think about what the intentions could be. But it's really hard to try and get across the real deep lore and the deep intentions of a lot of characters.
I think Denis Villeneuve also said that he doesn't like dialogue. He actually said this in an interview. He's like, I don't like dialogue. Dialogue's for the theater and TV shows, and movies are about visuals. So I don't think he will never put like an exposition scene into his movie just because he doesn't like using dialogue that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is a movie that he directed, which is amazing that people don't really talk about. It's called Incendies. It's like, I think it was 2010 or something. It's so this guy he's Canadian, isn't he? He's like Canadian French. I think the reason he directed that because there's a link between Canadian people and Lebanese people because there's a lot of the French colonized Lebanon. So a lot of people in Lebanon speak French and they also migrate to Canada. And so there's a big Lebanese community in Canada. And I think he got the story from there. But it's a story about these 2 siblings whose heritage, their mum's Lebanese, and the mum migrated and brought them there as like an immigrant, and they're trying to figure out who their father is. And it's a very complex story. And in that, it's an extremely complex story, and there's like several points of realization in that movie that aren't explained through dialogue. They're explained through images or scenes. And it like hits you. It's weird because they're really impactful, but it hits you when you get it. And you might get it like, you'll get it like 2 to 3 scenes later and you're like, oh, holy shit. And there's like points where you don't even know if is it a twist or not, but you get it really late and you're like, this realization hits you. But yeah, I could tell that he loves that. And, you know, he's directed like, I think it was Prisoners and like
Arrival.
Blade
which again
Runner.
is,
Blade Runner. Yeah. Blade Runner.
I haven't seen Blade Runner. The new one.
2049.
2049.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard it was really good though. So
Yeah.
I think that's his thing. He loves it. And he does really well, obviously. Like,
Yeah.
Dune is amazing.
I think the common thing with all of his movies is they're not for everyone, though.
Definitely not for everyone. Yeah. I could see your wife not liking
No,
this.
well, she saw the
yeah.
trailers and it's like, I'm not watching that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's definitely not for
It's
everyone.
hard sci-fi. Very hard sci-fi.
Yeah.
It is good to enjoy. I think you can actually just appreciate the aesthetic of it all and not actually give a shit about the story. That's actually kind of how I went into Dune 1. I was just like, I'm just going to watch it and just see how well they do all of it. And they nailed everything. Everything looked amazing in Dune 1. So I was like, you know what? That's good enough for me. And then the story was good enough. It was very slow, but I was like, you know what? I'm still pretty happy.
Yeah.
This one's also slow, but I don't know. Keeps you.
It's
keeps
slow
you
and then
yeah.
it's quick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he does that a lot. Yeah, like in the first one as well. It's like slow, 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 and then the back half of it is just like everything happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he describes. Was it? I think. Yeah. No, I think it is. So Frank Herbert,
The
who's
writer of the
writer of the
yeah.
books, describes Dune, the rhythm of Dune, as coital, like
Oh yeah,
like
slow,
it's sex.
slow, and yeah.
So it's like slow and then builds and it's like sudden and then like, which is so. I mean, if he's in and like it's pretty. So people would know about Frank Herbert and how he writes because like this book is. It's like this and Lord of the Rings. You put them together and you'll get all the influences for like, well, that's Game of Thrones essentially. Put those two together, but people know about this guy and they know about how he writes and it influenced Star Wars. So everyone knows, and so I think Denis Villeneuve would have gone into this looking at how he's written the book and trying to go off that sort of pace, and I think that's what he
Tempo.
kind of did.
Yeah.
He also kind of did it in the first movie. I feel like it was slow, got really quick, and then it slowed down again towards the end.
In the middle, it gets quick when that incursion
When the actions,
happens.
yeah.
And then after that, it's slow again.
Yeah,
'cause
it's
just
like
in the
there's like
desert.
an epilogue to the movie almost, which is that last part of the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Well, it goes for like because since I watched this back to back, I know that I thought that last desert part in part one wasn't that long.
In my mind, it goes for half an hour. How long does it go
40
for?
minutes.
Yeah, it goes for a while.
Okay,
Yeah,
fine.
it's
yeah.
quite long.
Because I watched it. I watched it on UK Netflix or something the other day with a VPN, and I was like, yeah. So all the actions already happened. We still have like an hour to
For
go.
some reason, I thought that like when they invade, that's like towards the end of the movie, but it's not. It's like the middle of the movie. So,
Yeah, and I think with this one, it's like that calm continues, like the slow continues, then it builds up, and then it's just like bang, bang, bang right at the end. It's like all these things happening. Anything else? So we've gone through music, action, aesthetics. The graphics are amazing.
yeah,
Obviously.
cinematography.
It's
is
good to
amazing.
watch a movie that actually looks good for a while. We've seen Madam Web
Yeah, I was saying
and Argyle, which both look horrible.
terrible. Yeah,
Does Argyle look that bad? Does it?
Or Argyle looks horrible. Argyle probably looks worse than Madam Web.
I think so. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah. Should we jump into spoilers?
Yeah, I think
I
so.
don't have anything else. So obviously, it's a cognitive recalibration.
It's good to finally watch something good, hey?
Yeah. But like you said, it isn't for everyone. I don't think everyone's going to enjoy it, but it's good. All right, spoilers.
Oh, actually, I was going to say one thing. I guess we could talk about this in spoilers. I actually want to watch this again with subtitles on because they speak a lot in the Fremen language and then they switch to English. And I don't know if it's just me, but my brain sometimes still thinks they're talking Fremen and I'm waiting for the subtitles to come through. And then I realize he's speaking English. And by that time, he's already said whatever he's said. And I'm like, I've already lost it.
There are times where they are speaking Fremen that they won't have subtitles for. They won't, because you're just supposed to get the gist of or understand the spirit in which they're saying it, I guess.
Yeah, and there were some dialogues that were in English, but
muffled almost?
Yeah, it's a bit muffled. Yeah. Not like Christopher Nolan's.
Not that bad, no. Yeah.
Well, one thing I was going to say is, because this was meant to come out last year, but it only got delayed because of the writer strikes and the actor strike.
Oh, right.
If it actually did come out last year, I reckon these Oscars wouldn't have been as clear-cut as they are now. Like with Oppenheimer being front runner, I reckon this, especially for the
I think
visual effects
Oppenheimer would have won it still.
music. I don't know, music, visual effects. I reckon this
Has
was
the Oscars happened yet?
not yet. Yeah,
Soon, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think Christopher Nolan's
actors-
just a darling of the Oscars and he would have won it.
probably. Yeah,
Yeah.
And Oppenheimer's more of a Oscar.
In the end, the Oscars are just a popularity contest between the Academy, like who likes people more. So
You know,
Yeah.
Denis Villeneuve wasn't even nominated for Dune 1.
yeah.
He wasn't even nominated as a director.
Yeah,
So
it's all of it. It's like the Grammys.
Yeah, it's
Grammys
just,
and the
yeah.
Oscars are bullshit.
It's just a popularity contest in the end. So
Yeah.
I think Oppenheimer still would have won it, but yeah, there's some good. I think visual effects wise,
Visual
this
effects,
should
this is-
win
yeah.
everything. But yeah,
Yeah.
spoilers.
Yeah, let's jump into spoilers. So where
I've
do
got one question
all right,
up
let's
top,
start with that. Yeah.
which it's kind of at the start of the movie. So he learns how to ride the sandworms.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Apparently, it's not explicitly said in the books. You might know this if you've read them. How they get on the sandworms to ride them, but in this
I don't think
So they
they
explain how the
They
physics.
explained how-
apparently, in the books, they explain how it works, which is in the movie they kind of show it, but it still doesn't make sense. But when you put the grapple
Yep.
on the area that the sandworm breathes,
and then you can like direct it. Yeah.
So when you open it up, if you open it up in a sand area, it doesn't like to have that part in the sand because then it'll breathe in the sand. So then it moves it. It moves itself up to the air. So that's how you're kind of turning it.
But my question is, and later in this movie, you see them transporting like 50, 60 people with a sandworm. How the hell do they get the 60 people onto the sandworm?
Yeah.
Everyone jumps on.
And how do they get off the sandworm afterwards? Because it doesn't look like there's a way to stop it. It just keeps going. It's just, you could direct it, but you can't stop it.
I think you just jump off.
Yeah.
So all these 60 people, also
Including
when they take
Jessica.
when they
Including
take the mum,
Jessica.
they
Yeah.
take her in a fucking
Yeah,
pod.
she's in like a.
So they
yeah.
chuck the pod off. Like,
I think they all just jump on and they kick her off. At the end.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's not explained. I'm guessing like they all get on. You know when they get onto the worm, like they stand with their grapples. Maybe they stand behind the person that's going to be controlling. I don't know. They obviously don't never show it. Yeah.
I mean, the other thing is that in the first movie, they
it
make
doesn't
it
have to
seem.
be quite. It doesn't have to be added, by the way. I think it's. Just
But
a
also,
funny
I think
thing.
in the
Yeah.
first movie, they make it seem like these sandworms and like the Shai Hulud is like this dangerous thing that exists. And then very quickly, within like the first half an hour, it's like, also we use it, we control it.
Yeah, we just.
It's
use
easy.
these
We ride it.
things.
We
Yeah.
go for joyrides on them.
Well,
It's
at
like,
the very
yo.
end of the first one,
Yeah,
they do
it
show
says-
someone riding it. Like that's like literally the last shot in the first movie. Yeah.
He's like, yeah, that's interesting. But then it turns out that's fucking simple. Apparently,
Yeah.
everyone does.
Everyone
that
just does it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also the is it the blood or of these worms that they drink?
Yeah, well, they're like.
shit.
Yeah, that's the water of the holy
Blood
water.
of life. No, the
Water of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's because I think in the books they explain that the worms, like there's some interaction between the worms and spice.
Yeah.
And
because
so
the water's blue as well. Like your eyes turn blue when you have
Yes.
too much
Oh yeah,
spice.
true.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess it's probably really concentrated in the worm. So if you get a baby worm, which how the fuck do you find a baby worm? Who knows? But I guess you
In the
find a
south,
baby worm
yeah.
and then you kill it and drain its
Right, it's
lifeblood.
blood,
Yeah.
and then you
Which
drink
is-
it, and you
yeah.
can see the future.
Yeah.
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 Well, then, I mean, like, if we're talking about this, then let me just say that I think there is so my biggest gripe with this is that I think everything's going perfectly until the point where the sietches start getting bombed by Austin Butler coming in. And then all of a sudden, it's like Timothy or Paul Atreides is like, the whole time he's like, worried about going to the south. Something bad's going to happen. My mom wants me to drink this thing. I don't want to do it. And they start bombing and he's like, well, I'm going to the south and I'm drinking this water.
I think he still goes there reluctantly. Like he's like, I have no choice now. But then as soon as he drinks the water,
yeah,
he's
no, but-
like, he's
yeah.
a different character.
Not only that,
Yeah.
is that he rocks up and when he rocks up, it's not like, oh, where is everyone? He rocks up and the next scene is he's inside looking for the
water.
like,
yeah.
so he doesn't even
And
show
he doesn't even like, I remember watching the scene, he doesn't even hesitate to drink the water.
Yeah.
He just goes straight
Just-
in.
yeah.
Yeah.
He tells that chick
the
who's
lady,
there, he's like,
you know why I'm here. Or
yeah, you
something.
know why I'm here. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, so I guess you've decided then.
Yeah. Because it's
I
usually
feel like they should have slowed that. They should have slowed that down to make it seem like it was at least.
because aren't men forbidden or something to enter that
Well,
place as well? So
No, apparently if men drink it, they die.
yeah.
So
That's
that it was assumed that he would die.
Normally,
Yeah.
you would only
Yeah.
give it to the Reverend Mother,
Yes. Yeah.
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 which is another interesting question because I guess the last Reverend Mother that the Fremen have is a Bene Gesserit because she uses the voice to command.
I think all Reverend Mothers are Bene Gesserit. So they send them everywhere
They send them across.
so that they can have control over everything.
Yeah, right. But
and that's why they know about the what do they call it? The Al Gaib is.
Lisan al-Gaib.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they kind of use that. So the you guys would know this, but the Bene Gesserit essentially knew that these people had this feeling of this the god or whatever, like this prophet that will come and
Yeah, that
save
was
them.
a prophecy. Yeah.
So they specifically made sure that Rebecca Ferguson and Paul Leto Atreides would have a daughter, and then
It was meant to have a.
it was meant to have a daughter, but they changed it. And then the other one was going to be Austin Butler. So Austin Butler and then the daughter that these guys were going to have were meant to get married. and the person that they had from that was going to be the prophet, and then they could have.
Are they supposed to get married, or are they just investing in multiple bloodlines?
I think they were supposed to get married together. The Hark, because the two biggest houses are the Harkonnens and the Atreides. So if they have a bloodline from both of them, they can control everything.
But wasn't
and then
Jessica
have
already
that.
Harkonnen, like,
So I don't know if
anyway?
they knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the Bene Gesserit would have
known that because yep.
So
But
I don't know if that. So is it definitely? I mean, that would have been a good strategy.
I think that was their strategy, to have both bloodlines and then have that person be the prophet, and then they can control They can control the Fremen. They
The
can
Bene
control.
Gesserit also do have. They have their own version of like the one that was promised, right? Like in the first movie, they've got the the main Bene Gesserit who advises the Emperor.
Yeah.
And who's
She's the one that puts his hand in the box
yeah.
as well. Yeah.
She says that so she talks about like the legend or the prophecy that the Bene Gesserit themselves believe of a chosen one, which is different. And
It's
for
different.
them,
It's
it's
not-
always
it's-
like a daughter. They
It's
always
a girl. Yeah.
they always believe in a girl, and that's why they always want. I think they're always making sure that they have women or have female children in order to first of all pass on the skill / teaching, because you're not supposed to teach males, but also to induce the prophecy to see if you can give birth to the chosen one or whatever. But obviously, she chooses to have
She chooses to have a son, which
For-
ruins everything.
for Leto.
Yeah.
But so I think they have their own, but then they also over the centuries have also been kind of implanting, or over some period of time, the Bene Gesserit have been involved in Dune or Arrakis, and they've also been putting out their own kind of, the Lisan al-Gaib stuff is like combination of the Fremen's own beliefs and
Bene
like
Gesserit,
Bene
yeah.
Gesserit infiltration. But the Bene Gesserit, I presume, have only been involved in Arrakis since Arrakis was discovered as like this, which has
As a
been
spice planet, yeah.
how long? How long have
Don't
the
know.
Harkonnens? Because the Harkonnens have been there
while,
for 70
right?
years, right?
Yeah.
Or is it centuries?
I thought it was
Century.
long.
Oh,
Yeah.
maybe
No,
it was
so-
centuries worth.
Paul says it at one point. He says,
been fighting
"You've
it
been
for
fighting the Harkonnens for centuries.
No,
Decades." He says
decades.
decades, and we've been fighting them for
Centuries.
centuries.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if they've been fighting them for decades, I mean, when was Dune discovered? Is the question, right? Because that's when the Fremen would have been
But
discovered
maybe
as
the
a
Fremen
population.
already had this original idea of a prophet coming through,
Well, my only
and then
question
they
is-
just
I guess my
yeah.
question as to why I'm asking this question is, how the fuck did a Bene Gesserit get involved in like the Fremen's holy stuff previously?
maybe they just they just infiltrated.
Or
in
maybe
it.
they have their own
Yeah.
semi Bene Gesserit sort
Yeah.
of thing, and
Their own. Yeah.
It raises a lot of questions, regardless.
But yeah, she did use the voice on Jessica.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She just tells her to drink it, right?
Yeah.
Or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she realized afterwards that she's pregnant.
Yeah, that's right.
As well. Yeah.
So that means the sister is going to have those future seeing powers at birth, essentially.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
possibly,
because
Well,
she had
she's-
the water.
She's already
as well,
communicating with her, like,
with her mum. Yeah, she
But she's already
loves
communicating with Paul,
Yeah,
yeah.
because Paul sees her. It's Anya Taylor-Joy
Taylor-Joy,
Yeah.
yeah.
in that vision. So I think that's like this other sort of communication thing.
Yeah.
That's It is interesting.
Hmm.
I mean, she could be the one.
Well, that's what.
I
yeah.
think
I think
the
you're not
actual
supposed to know.
point of Frank Herbert's novel
Yeah.
is that there is
Yeah,
no
exactly.
one. It's like
Well,
don't
it's-
put all your money in
It's
one
that you're
person.
actually willing it.
Yeah.
You also will like prophecy into existence, where
Yeah.
if you believe enough, this person will be the chosen
Yeah, it
one.
will happen.
And if you
Yeah.
believe without putting effort or whatever in,
Yeah.
you the chosen one won't work.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is.
And
So
like if you believe
Game of
strongly,
Thrones.
then
It's-
this person will become the one.
Because I don't
But,
think,
yeah.
like, at the end when he fights Austin Butler, I don't think he was going to win. Like,
No.
he just ends up winning. But like, I don't think it's because he was the chosen one. He just, yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't think he is the chosen one. Like,
Yeah.
and in the end, he does bad stuff as well. Like,
so
I
that
think
was
this is when I was watching the movie, Zendaya eventually goes off Paul Atreides. Like the first half of the movie, they build their relationship, and she suddenly like goes off him, and I was like, why? Because it wasn't very clear in the movie.
Yeah.
But after reading into it, I think her whole belief was that the Fremen should take back Dune, for the Fremen and not for this whole other holy war situation. And then Timothée Chalamet always told her that he was fighting for the Fremen. But then it gets to the end, and then as she sees the change go through, but it gets to the end, and in the end, he's not fighting for the Fremen anymore. He's just fighting.
Revenge.
I actually don't know.
Yeah.
So like I mean, he could be fighting for the Fremen. I mean,
but he goes to do this war with.
So that's that's what raised a lot of things. So I think that last act was very rushed. I found like, so Austin Butler's character was built up to be really interesting, right? Really awesome. They did some things that were too rushed, like, you know, they build him up and then they just like bang end fight.
The part where he says that he's going to fight for the Emperor, I did not understand why he would fight for the Emperor, other than the fact that maybe you just want to fight this guy.
I think he just gets off on violence and then
I think he just maybe want to fight this guy.
I did find it interesting that they give him such a, like, you don't see like Dune for like 20 minutes because you're on this other planet and you get his backstory and all of that. And then he just gets stabbed. Like, it's like very quick.
So I guess the part that it all quickens up is when he arrives in the south. He gets there, he drinks this blue thing, and then he just starts, he becomes like
a different dude. Yeah.
He becomes a different person, becomes this crazy leader, but it all seems like he just goes in front of everyone and he's like, no one can defeat me or something. And I'm like, you know, okay, sure.
Yeah.
And then everyone just starts supporting him. Yeah, he starts saying all these things that he can understand. But it all just seems a bit quick. Next thing, they're talking about the battle plans. And like, you know, obviously it's very convenient that they found some fucking nukes somewhere, right? That's its own thing. But the next thing, they're like talking about how they send off a letter to the Emperor and this is their plan for the invasion of like the North. It's just pulling Game of Thrones again with this fucking teleportation. Like, I was like, whoa, this is quick.
Very
just
quick,
calm. Everyone calm the fuck down. Surely it would have been more interesting to show at least how you're going to get the South on your side, or at least show more of Paul's powers. You know, they do the Bran Stark thing where suddenly someone's, you know, when he becomes Three-Eyed Raven, he knows everything. Fuck it. Yeah. Follow him.
He just becomes like this dictator almost, and everyone blindly follows him. Yeah. Which I guess is also the point of it, that they've been like poisoned into thinking that there's this prophet.
And Jessica was like doing it in the background as well.
Yeah.
Like she was talking to all the women and stuff.
Well, at least that's a more interesting way. So if Paul was going to do that, at least that's an interesting way of how you bring up people, right? Like you kind of do little whispers here and there. You get people to believe. I found her storyline a little bit more interesting just because it seems like she's doing this clandestine way of trying to get people around the Lisanne game. But then as soon as he rocks up, he's like, I'm the chosen one. Everyone follow me. And it's like as if, okay, well, let's just do it. And then they go there and they just start. There's a lot of things that unless you really observe wouldn't make sense. Like, you know how they nuke everything there. First of all, the Harkonnens rocking up with their whole army is very convenient. They go and they just launch all the nukes and destroy the whole thing. And then did you notice that like the spaceship that the Emperor rocks up in has activated the shield? Because a lot of people didn't get that. I thought, it's just on fire. I don't know why it's on fire, but it's on fire. Maybe that's a thing. And then I was like, oh shit, that's a shield. That's a sign to attack. And then they get there and I found that the whole Sardaukar turning against the Harkonnens and like, you know how they kind of cut the balloons off the Baron? You know that scene?
Yeah.
That's all like...
when the Emperor kills... Well, he like...
So I think the deal was... I guess the deal that Paul Atreides wrote was give up the Baron and we can negotiate something. Is that... I think that's what his letter says, right?
I'm not sure exactly what it said, but... Yeah.
Paul Atreides, no.
Well, why would the Emperor give up the Baron? Because he's given up the Baron to him, right?
I think he just was displeased with the Baron.
Yeah,
so
because they didn't complete the job. Yeah.
No, but
because they didn't kill Paul Atreides.
No, but when Paul enters the area, you know that scene where he enters, the Sardaukar are protecting everyone except for... They make a line.
Yeah, except for the Baron. Yeah.
Except for the Baron.
I think he was just unhappy with the Baron that he didn't kill Paul, so he didn't care what he did with him.
I interpreted that as he sent a letter to the Emperor saying that I'll agree to terms of marriage, I think.
No,
Or-
I think the letter he sent to the Emperor was, "Hey, I'm still alive, and I'm challenging you." So he has to come to.
But what challenge? Like, why would the Emperor?
But I don't understand why he came. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I think it's all up in the air.
Well,
Yeah.
if,
but they cut off the balloons, so they just leave him. They just leave him there, and I'm like, this has gone from the Baron being this all-powerful person to within one scene being like this.
yeah, because they set
Muppet
him
on
up
the
as being
floor.
quite menacing in the first one as well. But I think it's all around. If the rest of the houses find out that there was a conspiracy to kill the Atreides family,
Then they'll kill the Emperor.
yeah, then they'll
Yeah.
turn against the Emperor. So I think that was the leverage that he had. But
So I think that's what the Baron's leverage was, right? The Baron called, he sent the messages off to the other houses telling them to come.
He tells them that
When the Emperor came, I think the Baron knew that his time was up. So he's like, the Emperor came, and then he's like, oh, why they're here? The Emperor must know that Paul's still alive, and then he's going to kill me because I told them that Paul's dead. And then
I
he's
don't
like,
think the Baron ever knows that Paul's still alive.
I think they do know once they start attacking the South. They have an idea that he's still alive. Doesn't
No, because they keep calling him
Doesn't
the
it-
Muad'Dib.
yeah, they don't know. They don't know it's Paul. I don't think they
They
know
don't
it's
ever
Paul.
link.
doesn't Dave Bautista see
Yeah,
him?
he sees him. Yeah,
Yeah.
he sees him. Yeah.
Yeah.
He sees him, but has Dave Bautista ever seen Paul in the movie? In Dune 1, they don't ever come face to face.
Yeah, I don't
Not
know.
sure.
This, yeah.
No, because he only comes face to face with like Josh Brolin that fight. But him and Jessica Ferguson are like, they're all like
Rebecca Ferguson.
Rebecca. What's her name? Jessica. Her name's Jessica, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think they get drugged, right? They get drugged and they get sent off to the other ship to be chucked in the desert. So I don't think they ever come across.
They because the Baron couldn't kill them because the Baron Gesserit lady tells them not to kill them, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So then
He promises
He knows-
Bene Gesserit.
he knows they're alive.
No, but
No,
he,
but-
he reckons if they leave them in the desert, they'll
Then
just
they'll
die.
just die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then Batista comes back and he says, "I've seen them go into a sandstorm and no one ever makes it out of that alive." So he's like, "Okay, cool, they're dead. That's it." He moves on. And apparently the reason as to, in the books at least, the reason as to why he does that is because there's people on the Emperor's side, or there's investigators that have this power of finding out whether you lie or not. And they also have like these cognitive powers, just like the Bene Gesserit do. And so he knows that if that investigator asks the Baron knows that if he asks him, "Did you kill Paul and Jessica?" he'll know what, like, if he says no and he actually has, he'll know whether it's a lie or not. So he was like, "I'll do it indirectly. So just give them up to the desert, or I'll get someone else to do it, or I won't directly order it. I'll do it indirectly." So that's one thing. The other thing is, the other question is, it gets a bit confusing, but I don't think they make it clear who, like, how they have the scene in the first movie with the Sardaukar and the human sacrifices in their own little land. It's in the first movie. The Sardaukar are like preparing to invade Arrakis or Dune,
Yeah.
and there's like a scene where they're all like
Oh yeah.
it's like this droning. There's like a droning sound going around. It's like, oh, Mongol, like
yeah. Yep. I
Mongol
remember.
throat singing going on.
Yeah.
And there's like all these dead people where they're using their blood and doing their sacrifice.
Yeah.
It's not very clear. There needs to be some sort of distinction between like who they are. Like the movie doesn't explain who the Sardaukar are, what house they belong to, and are they the same house as the Emperor? Because they're not. But
I think they directly serve the Emperor.
yeah,
so
they're like his
army.
personal troops.
Yeah.
And they need to distinguish that they're way better at fighting than the Harkonnens, because that is what the law is. They're like way better. And then the only people that can defeat them are the Fremen, because the Fremen are like a whole different thing. And until you get to the main battle at the end, you don't realize that the Fremen, that you got a lot of Fremen, but the Fremen are so good at destroying these guys because they're just way better at fighting. Like hands down, they're just way better. And I think that distinction probably should have been maybe established in the first movie as to how dangerous the Fremen actually are. And you don't really get it until you see Paul kind of fighting as like a guerrilla terrorist in the desert. But yeah, that was one other thing.
Yeah. Well, coming back to the like Paul's motivations, because when he's in the first half of the movie, he's like, yeah, I'm just fighting as a part of the Fremen, and he doesn't wear the ring, his dad's ring.
Yeah.
But then after he drinks that stuff, he puts it back on, and then that's when he's kind of changed. So I think that ring symbolizes his.
Well, I think once he drinks the thing, he's like, now I know what the strategy is. The strategy is to go ahead, say I'm Paul Atreides, make an alliance with the Emperor's daughter.
Yeah.
Power broker that way.
I think he because when he gets to Dune, he gets the spice and he sees the future, and he's like, if I go to the south, millions of people will die. And then he ends up going to the south, but that's why he's reluctant to go there, obviously. But as soon as he drinks it, he knows that millions of people are going to die, but he's like, I'll be the emperor anyway, so he does it anyway. So I think that character, like the evilness of the character, kind of comes through at the end in terms of he stops caring about the people as much and cares more about his own self.
Well, I don't even know. I'm not even convinced. Look, I haven't read the books. I think that he could. Look, I think it is confusing as to why. I found it confusing that he just, when they ask the questions like, oh, all the houses are here, what are you going to do? And he's just like, oh, just send them a fucking warning.
Yeah.
It's like, what? I don't think they were ever against him. To be honest, I don't think those houses rocked up to be against the Fremen.
It was against the emperor.
It's against the Emperor or the Harkonnens or whatever. It would have been against them. It wouldn't have been. And at the start, in Dune 1, they said a lot of the houses were actually on the side of the Atreides. And the reason as to why they had to eliminate the Atreides was because, number one, they're too popular amongst the houses. And number two, if you eliminate them without any witnesses, no one will know. Like,
I think the Emperor wanted the Harkonnens to eliminate them without any witnesses so that he couldn't challenge the Emperor, because Leto Atreides was becoming someone that could challenge the Emperor.
And then in the books, the Sardaukar are wearing the Harkonnens uniform. And that's how they do it. So they're not just like in their normal uniform, because then everyone will recognize them.
Yeah.
So I reckon they should have done that. It would make more sense. Like, it would be like, okay, this is a proper plot to get rid of the Atreides without anyone knowing. In any case, I think, look, who knows? I mean, I was thinking like maybe he wants to declare war on them and find a way to destroy all spice. Like if you can get the Fremen off the planet and then just nuke the shit out of the planet, remove all spice, then no one will want Dune anymore, and then you can repopulate Dune. I don't know. There's like,
I think his overall, at the end, what's it called?
You reckon his mission has changed?
His mission's changed. It's for power rather than for revenge or whatever, because he's done his revenge. He's killed the Baron. Now he just wants power. I'm not
convinced of that. What makes you think that?
I think that because he sees the future and he knows what's going to happen.
But I don't think his visions are always right. So you know how
they
talk about visions, and when he has visions, he sees multiple possible things happening. And in the books, he actually sees, the black guy that he kills?
Yes.
In the book, apparently he sees him as a teacher.
No, in the first one, he said that he actually has a vision before he meets that guy that he's like going to train him. Yeah. But then what actually happens is he fights him and he kills him.
Yeah.
So I think he sees like alternate versions of what might happen in the future.
Could happen, yeah.
But
he's doing like the Doctor Strange thing, but he's not.
Yeah.
But he doesn't actually know.
I think just based off what I've heard about the books, is that he does become a villain.
And I mean, he could be.
Yeah. He does.
He's pulling in an Anakin Skywalker thing.
Like, not essentially that, but like we talked about before, the whole Frank Herbert thing is don't put all your eggs in like this one person, this Messiah.
Yeah.
And then he almost thinks he is the Messiah at the end of this. Like he says it so much that he starts to believe it. And then as a result of that, people do things for him that he essentially doesn't want. And as a result, lots of people die.
So you reckon he's chasing his visions to think that he just needs to fulfill what those visions are,
exactly,
without actually thinking about what he wants.
Yeah.
Because he also does say about Chani, like before she leaves, I think he says that she's going to come back around or something. Like he knows that it's going to be okay in the end, because he, like right in front of her, he proposes to the Emperor's daughter. But then before he says that, he also tells her that he still loves her. So I think he sees something in the future.
I did see that coming though. I thought what he was doing was, so I thought the Emperor was running into strife because the Harkonnens were really struggling with spice production, right? Spice production. So apparently spice just makes you see into the future. And at least in the books, spice makes anyone can see into the future with spice. So it gives you these powers. And they use spice to space travel by looking into the future, which I don't understand the logic of, and I haven't looked into it, but that's how it works in the books.
There is a line at the start of the first movie where they say it makes it possible for interstellar travel, and that's the only mention of it.
Yeah, in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the movie, they just say it very briefly, but I think in the books they say that it's because you see into the future, it allows you to travel through space and time or some shit, right? Not explained, whatever. Ultimately, whenever you're running out of spice is like oil. It's just like what you need to generate this thing. And the Emperor, the Harkonnens were struggling, right? Because the Muad'Dib and stuff, their terrorist activities was doing really well. They're able to really cause drama for spice mining. And then when the Muad'Dib gets enough reputation and he has enough army backing him, Emperor gets worried. And then he sends a letter. He sends a letter to the Emperor saying that, I want to meet with you. I thought that the reason... So you know how when the Emperor rocks up, there's a time at which they turn on their shield for their ship, right? It's not engaged. There's a time where it just becomes engaged. And Paul sees that. He's like, I'm waiting for the sign. And then when the shield turns on, that's the sign. What's all that about?
He doesn't want to kill the Emperor.
Correct, but why would the shield turn on?
I don't know. Why does the shield turn on?
I'm pretty sure. So that's why I thought it was a deal that he sent this. I thought he sent a letter to the Emperor saying, like, let us form an alliance. You just need to give up the Harkonnens. And so you'd tell, and so he arranged for a sign to come up, like the shield to turn on. Because the shield should never have turned on. Like if you're coming down to come to the Harkonnens territory, who are your allies? Like why would you turn it on, right? And I thought the deal was you give up the Harkonnens, you guys, and then I'll come and I'll engage with you. And they were expecting. It seemed like the Emperor's troops and the Sardaukar were expecting the Fremen to rock up. Like that's why they took sides, and that's why they protected whoever they need to protect, including the Emperor. That's why they didn't really give a shit about the Baron. Now, the reason as to why they didn't try and kill Austin Butler, I don't know. But I guess once you take down the Baron...
And they don't kill Dave Bautista either.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's only the Baron, yeah.
So maybe the deal was...
They don't even kill the Baron. They just cut his...
Yeah.
But I have a feeling that they know... That they knew. You turn on the shields, right? And they knew that... they were going to launch an attack, and this is how you protect them. And then you give up the Baron so that Paul can get his revenge, and we don't care about the rest. And then they would engage in an alliance because they wanted an alliance, because they knew that Muad'Dib or Paul Atreides he's got too much of an army. Like, you can't take over. If you want to continue having like a good empire, you want control over Arrakis, you need to make an alliance. That's what I thought it was.
Then why does he fight him at the end?
Who?
He challenges him.
Yeah, so I think that's what he told them. He tells him that's the reason as to why he's going to come down. Yeah. That's what the Emperor thinks. And then Paul's real play was, I'm going to take over everything.
Oh, okay.
And so I thought that his whole reason for doing it is the only way to protect Dune and to protect the Fremen is to engage. You need to get control of the Empire because Arrakis is the most important planet in the Empire. If you get control of the Empire, then only then is there a chance that you can control Arrakis. But I don't know. It could be the other way. Not really sure.
I guess if anyone knows.
Yeah, let us know.
Let us know, because we don't know. Yeah.
But maybe they shouldn't let us know, because maybe that will be explained in the next movie. I don't know. Whether it be spoilers.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Bit hard to know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was intentional for them to just leave all these things out there, or whether they'll be explained in the next movie or what.
Yeah.
But I did find it rogue that he was like, after he had essentially won this little battle with the Emperor and all that, he was like, yeah, fucking wage war in every other house too. It's like, yo, okay, chill out a bit. But I don't know.
I think the last 20 minutes was definitely rushed. There was a lot happening. And it was almost like a bit anticlimactic, some of the stuff that happens, because like we've already mentioned, the Baron was built up as this like menacing villain, and then he just gets stabbed and dies.
Austin Butler gets built up as a menacing guy as well, and he gets stabbed and dies.
Yeah.
Same with Dave Bautista. Just
it goes down pretty quickly as well.
Yeah, Dave Bautista's character really got shat on.
Yeah. He did not have a good movie. Yeah. Overall, though, I still like it.
Yeah.
I thought it was a very interesting movie.
Yeah.
Really good.
Definitely like prompts conversation. So it's
Yeah, I'd still give it like an 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
Still quite a good movie.
I'll give you one spoiler that probably never come up.
Yeah.
But Paul Atreides has a son named Leto Atreides, and he becomes a worm. He becomes a sandworm.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
There you go.
So,
how
do you think that would ever happen?
Don't ask these questions. Don't ask the questions.
He I think his spirit gets put into a sandworm. So he becomes the emperor, and then he becomes a sandworm, I think.
Okay.
So do you think that will ever happen?
I hope
not in the movies. Not in the movies, but apparently that's what happens in the books. So.
It definitely happens in the book. I'm pretty sure it's Leto Atreides Jr. that becomes a sandworm. So yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
So does he have? I mean, just jump into real spoilers, but is his kid with Chani?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has twins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't want to know this.
Oops.
Fuck.
But one of them's a sandworm. Remember that?
Oh, no. He makes a sandworm with his worm. Very good.
Yeah. Okay.
You might think I'm joking as well. Like, look it up. It's real. One of them becomes a sandworm.
When it comes to, so I think there's, from what I understand, there's 3 books that are based around Paul Atreides, and then he just turned into this. That's the original trilogy. And as you were saying, Tharon, he got apparently like forced into writing some other books.
I think
because they were so popular.
Yeah.
And then I think Denis Villeneuve is just going to do the Paul Atreides trilogy. I don't think he has any interest in going past
So
it.
he's saying he's doing Dune Messiah next, and then he's got something else that he's doing, and then he said he might do a Batman Beyond movie if they let him do it, which would be sick. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I never pictured him as a Batman. I guess yeah. Yeah.
So he's doing Dune Messiah, and then he's got something else after that, which I don't know what it is.
If you haven't,
And then,
no one's seen, I don't think you guys have seen Incendies, have you?
No.
I think it's on Amazon, or you can probably just stream it on one of these websites, but it's definitely worth watching. It's
also Arrival. If you've probably seen it, but Arrival is probably his next best movie. Yeah.
Arrival's really good.
Yeah.
I think Incendies is as good as Arrival. It's really good. It's crazy storyline. It makes you learn a lot about Lebanon, which I didn't know about. I didn't know that Lebanon was like essentially 50% Christian, especially back in the day. I thought it was like 9% Muslim. But it's about like the Lebanese civil war that happened and splitting of families. And yeah, so it's really good. I think people find it really interesting. It's really gory. It's right in there. It's very classic. There's a reason as to why he chose that story. But definitely worth watching.
Okay.
That's when I was like, oh, okay. This guy is not just like, I'm going to direct big movies. He like chooses what he wants to direct.
Yeah.
I also think all of his movies are not for everyone. Like, they're not mass appeal movies. He makes movies that he wants to make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They all tend to be a bit of a slow burn as well.
Yeah.
They're not fast.
Even like Arrival. Like you think it's
not
all
mass
normal
appeal.
until like the ending or like the last part and you're like, oh, what the hell? This movie's about something different.
Dude, I didn't even understand that movie until like 5 days after I watched it. I'm like, oh, okay, that's what it was about. Yeah.
It took me a while to get it.
Yeah.
I was like, I got to the end, I was like, oh, okay. That's what's been happening in this whole movie. Fuck.
Anything else on Dune Part 2? It's good.
That's all I can think of.
Should talk about Last Airbender.
Ah, yes.
Yeah. So I watched the first episode.
Oh, yeah, go.
You watched the first episode?
Watch the first episode.
I've also watched the first episode.
My thoughts will be short and sweet. I've seen the TV show. I love the TV show. Not this TV show, the animated one. Watched the first episode. It's all right. It was a bit slow. It's kind of Avatar. Like, they get the characters designs right. It's not as fun. There's no comedy, and it's a bit slow, but also adds new stuff in it that might not needed to be added. But I didn't hate it. I thought it was all right. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was okay, but it also, the reason I haven't gone past episode 1 is it didn't really suck me in. It didn't really hook me. I have also seen most of the animated. I think the animated series came out when you guys were like prime time. Like, it came on ABC or something, right?
Yeah. So I've seen the animated, and I've seen Legend of Korra as well. So I've seen all of it. Yeah.
I think I was a little bit older when the original animated series came out, but I have seen it, and I think it's very, very good. Yeah, and it was fine, but it's not like. I still think the animated version is probably the more superior one, so like, I'll just watch that instead. Like, this seems okay, but yeah, it is a step up from the M. Night Shyamalan.
I haven't seen the M. Night movie, but just based off images, it looks like a step up.
Yeah.
M. Night Shyamalan one is trash. I've seen it, and I can't even remember it. That's how bad it was. Luckily, I can't remember it. I've also seen the animated. Yeah, I guess growing up, but I only watched I watched the first few episodes when I was growing up. It was coming up on ABC. But it was coming up at a time when it was too early for me to catch it after school, and I didn't know what day it was coming on, but I really liked it. And then I think once I finished school, I was able to watch the whole collection, and it blew my mind as to how good it was. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of the animated. I thought this one was like better than Shyamalan, but yeah, it was just like, I don't know why they love changing things. And they change things, and there's a reason as to why you don't change things, which is it changes like the emotional impact of stuff. And they in the first episode they overdid stuff, like they had too much.
Yeah.
They had too much of the Avatar's backstory in it. The greatest part about the animated show is that those details get slowly given to you through flashbacks or through other times where Aang remembers. And that's the cool part about it, is it needs to remain a mystery, and they feed you too much very quickly. And
so the first 20 minutes of the episode, that, because I couldn't remember what happens in the anime, like when that comes in the animated show, but it's not straight away, is it?
It's later. They don't even show that. It's never shown. What's shown in that first 20 minutes, it's never in the animated series.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah. They're basing it off information that was given later, and they're just filling things up, and they're putting it at the start. But it's also like, why you don't want that to be the case. Like in the animated show, it's like Katara's like trying to learn a bit of waterbending. Her brother doesn't really believe her or whatever. They just run into this person that's stuck in, and you don't really get it, right? The only reason as to why you know about the Avatar is because the intro explains the Avatar lore, and that's it. And that's the cool part about all of it. And then, like, Zuko rocks up. There's a bit of comedy there.
That's one thing that I don't know if it gets better as it goes on, but there was no comedy in this, or like it really lacked the fun.
Doesn't land, and the acting isn't that great. Some of this acting is, especially with look, the kid's like, he's a young kid, but it's really hard with animated. That's why, because animated, you can over exaggerate emotions, so you get very emotional about it. These guys, they can't do
live. It's to compare it to something. I haven't actually seen the One Piece anime, but the One Piece live action was really good, and like, it kind of retains the fun and the silliness of like a cartoon show without being too over the top. Compared to that, this is not as good. It's still okay, but they did it a lot better. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. And look, it keeps going. They add some new things. So in the second episode, there's a point. So this is, by the way, this is spoilers for people obviously haven't seen it. Second episode, there's a point where, so Aang never does this, but he just goes to Kyoshi Island or whatever, and because Avatar Kyoshi, she like, according to the law, she like makes the island by earthbending and blah, blah, blah. He goes there, there's a temple, and he's still trying to understand the Avatar state. And then Kyoshi just like activates his Avatar state, and then she actually rocks up in a form and starts fighting people instead of just him being in the Avatar state.
So he's watching.
No, he's
Kyoshi.
he's Kyoshi, and Kyoshi rocks up. And it looks awesome. It is pretty epic, but it's also like what that does is that from then on, you're just looking forward to the next time
someone will take over.
that someone's going to take over as the Avatar. And so it's just like, oh, I mean, what really is this, you know? And I just didn't understand why. And they've lost a bit. So in the animated TV show, his past avatars explain reasons, but they don't ever blame him for what's happening. In this Avatar, all these previous avatars, especially Kyoshi, are like, how dare you, you've done this to the world. It's all your fault. You ran away and you got trapped in. And it's like that was never the case. And if these people are blaming a kid for acting like a kid, like this is a bit stupid. Like you guys are assholes, you know what I mean? And it continues like this. A lot of things get rushed. There's like a love story between like Sokka and Suki, I think, that happens in the animated, but it gets really rushed in one of these episodes. It's really
the warrior
from Kyoshi Island.
Yeah, Kyoshi warrior. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And it's just like, man, this shit's getting rushed a lot, and you get to the end of it and you're like, all right,
well, the animated book 1 had 24 episodes or something, and I think they did it in 8. Is it 8 in this?
8.
Yeah. So obviously I think the difference between a One Piece and this is One Piece is old school anime where there's so much filler episodes and you can speed through things, but this doesn't have that much filler. In the original series, there is filler episodes, but there's not a whole lot of filler.
Yeah, and even when there are filler episodes, there's always tiny bits of stuff in there that are important.
Yeah, build the lore.
And there's only there's like 3 books, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't do air.
No, because he already knows air. Yeah.
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 So I don't know. I would give it.
And also, I heard that he doesn't learn how to waterbend in it.
Yeah, he doesn't do any of the waterbending. It's all like, I don't understand what the point of any of this shit was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Which is the point of the book 1 was that he learns how to waterbend, which apparently he doesn't.
He needs to learn how to be the Avatar, and they don't get to that. It's always about blaming him. I will say that the casting's pretty good. The casting's pretty good. For the Arctic, like waterbenders, people from the Arctic, they actually cast people who look like.
I hear the guy that plays Zuko is really good, and the guy that plays Uncle Iroh is really good as well.
Uncle Iroh guy's not bad.
Yeah.
The Zuko guy is in spirit, essentially Zuko, yeah. The Sokka guy is not too bad either. I think he's pretty good at comedy, but it's all directed a bit weird, and you need to give people the chance to just be funny rather than trying to rush it all and force the funniness. But yeah, I think the casting is pretty good. Other than that, though, I'm just like, whatever.
I might finish it eventually. We'll see.
Yeah.
All right, next.
Spider-Man
the game.
Tell us about it.
Number
Spider-Man
2.
Yeah.
I
got up to the part where he gets the Venom suit.
Okay. Yeah. There's still quite a bit left.
Yeah. So
Spider-Man 2, so in context, I guess, when did the first Spider-Man game came out? 2018?
I don't know. Do you know when the first Spider-Man came out?
2017?
It was 2018.
2018.
2018, yep.
I remember I loved it. I went to New York shortly afterwards, loved it even more. And then Miles Morales came out with the PS5 as the intro game, which was in 2021?
Yes, I think so. Yes.
Yeah? Is that when it came out? During
20,
COVID?
It would be around then. Yeah.
2020, 2021. Yeah.
So I guess this game essentially combines both characters. You can play as both people, and most of the time pretty quickly switch in between 2 people. There's 2 parallel storylines that are interconnected running throughout the game. The one big thing is that you get a winged websuit in this. So traversal is, I think it's more fun.
Easier. Yeah.
It's more fun. It's more easier. The real question is whether it is Spider-Man or not.
He does have a wing websuit in the
anime. So in some of the comics. Yeah, in some of the comics he does have it. So, and to be honest, I'm like, whatever.
I like the wing websuit.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's so good. There's like air tunnels you go through, and they've actually developed more of New York. So they've got Brooklyn and Queens as playable areas now. So it's just
is it all of Brooklyn? Like
Yeah, it's mostly. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It's
Brooklyn's
big.
not that big.
You can you go across the
Across the river.
It's pretty much one full map, and then you cross the river. It's another full map.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And same with Queens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Queens is just above Brooklyn. Look, it doesn't go to extended, there's parts of like extended Brooklyn and greater Queens, I think that, and you're kind of going
Like
out.
the more suburban.
Yeah. But no, I mean, they're still suburban. Like the Brooklyn and the Queens, it still looks like suburban areas. It doesn't look like
Yeah.
built up areas. So yeah, there's quite a bit to do. It would be interesting if they had Jersey in there or chuck some other stuff. But look, overall, I had a great time. A lot of fun with this game.
They do change the lore a little bit, which I know some people weren't happy about, but I thought it was kind of interesting.
What do they change about the law?
Who Venom is.
So it's not Eddie Brock.
Yes.
No, it's not. Eddie Brock's not in it. No.
Yeah. So I guess it's just the symbiote, which was discovered by the. Are we doing? I mean, this is spoilers.
Yeah, we'll do spoilers. Yeah, it's like 6 months old now.
Yeah, it's 6 months old. So there's going to be spoilers about storyline. But in this story, essentially, the symbiote is a thing that was discovered by the Oscorp Corporation.
Which most of the time it is that, or it's like it's come down from space and then Oscorp's like experimenting on it or something. Yeah,
and then I guess Norman's given it to Harry in order to protect him from the condition that he's inherited from his mum, and it essentially cures him. And then Harry gives it to Peter in a time where Peter's severely injured. Yeah,
gets stabbed by Craven.
Oh yes,
yeah.
So the cool thing is, so Craven the Hunter is the main villain
up to a certain point, and then
then it becomes Venom. Obviously.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is, he comes in and he's trying to hunt all these other villains.
He's just trying to hunt supervillains. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he captures all.
He has a proper fetish.
Yeah.
A proper fetish. But what's cool is you're always, as Spider-Man, you're always involved. So it's not like there's only one villain. I know, like, even in the first game, there were a few villains going around. But in this, it's like there's multiple things happening at once. I felt like it was kind of cool. Like, there's some cool things happening in New York at the time. It was getting a bit hectic, but that's what you kind of want, because you've already had 2 games where it's a bit slower paced and it's built up. Now it's like you just thrust into the middle of it. I don't know. I thought the action was really good. Movement's much smoother. There's more maneuvers you can do. There's like slingshots and stuff that you can take in the city. I don't know. I just found it way more fun. I think people did complain that the storyline was short, but I thought it was freaking long.
I think it's about 17 hours, the storyline, if you go linear, which I think that's a decent amount.
It's a decent amount. And also with Spider-Man, because Spider-Man's when it comes to games, I think Spider-Man's the easiest one to 100% on, because you can smash out everything. Like it's very obvious where things are and what you need to do. And so generally, if you want to unlock suits and stuff, you end up doing all these side missions anyway. So it won't be 17 hours. It'll end up being 50 plus hours at least of play. So I don't know. I found it long enough.
I find games that have extended storylines like tedious to get through, honestly.
Yeah.
Like Red Dead Redemption 2, I got to a certain point, I'm like, I can't play this anymore because I'm just done with it. So I prefer a straight line storyline.
I thought this was long.
Yeah.
I got to a point where I was like, oh, it's probably done now. And it kept going. And I was like, oh, interesting. A bit more. And it wasn't too mad, but I was like, oh, maybe they actually could have shortened it a bit. But I don't know. I wasn't mad. Overall, I thought it was a really good game. Enjoyed it a lot.
Better than the first one?
I think it's better than both.
I think it's about this. Oh, well, the part of they've cleaned up the mechanics. Load times are quicker. It's very. It runs very well. So I think it's about as good as the first one or better. Yeah.
It's arguable. Like, it's hard to know. When the first one came out at that time, I think it was unreal. Like, at that time, you had nothing else that was like it. They'd fucked up a lot of Spider-Man games before, and the web slinging in this was unbelievably awesome. I remember I watched one video. I was like, I'm definitely not going to get this game. When Spider-Man 1 came out, I was like, it's going to be shit. I previously had one. It was terrible. And I watched one video on it, and I was like, oh, fuck, this looks awesome. And then I just got it, and then I realized that I really liked it. So it definitely had a bigger impact, I think. But
I think this one, the jump from the first one to previous Spider-Man games and the jump from this one to the first Spider-Man, it's a smaller jump. Like they
Smaller
don't
jump.
change too much, but
But it is
They
still
still do it well.
significant enough that you're excited. Things are different. It's cool stuff. Some of the missions that you do as Miles is pretty cool. Like it's kind of look, it makes sense. Like you're kind of in high school and you're doing high school stuff, and it's kind of I appreciate that. Yeah.
Cool.
That's
Yeah.
all the end.
I think it was good. Yeah.
I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
I'd
All right.
recommend it. Definitely recommend it. I think it's game of the year.
I don't think it'll be game of the year, but
I don't think it will be game of the year, but I think it's game of the year.
I
don't
think
know
they
what
already
else we
did
can
game of the year for that year. Actually, it was
Yeah, what was
Baldur's Gate or something. Yeah, I think it was Baldur's Gate.
What
Yeah,
the fuck is that?
it's like a, how do I describe it? It's like a Lord of the Rings type thing, isn't it?
Isn't it like that other game?
It's like a World of Warcraft kind of
yeah.
Elden
Apparently
Ring kind of thing.
Isn't it
yeah,
really long as well? Like,
Yeah.
it's like,
Oh, like Skyrim.
yeah, like
it's
Skyrim.
like a
Yeah,
Elden
it's like
Ring
Skyrim.
kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
yeah.
is. I
Yeah.
can't,
Yeah.
can't do it. I can't do it because I know it'll destroy my life.
It's like a role playing game where you like create a character and whatever. Yeah,
Mm.
Yeah.
I think. I'm not sure. I've never played it, but I hear
You'd
it's
be
good.
totally wrong.
Yeah,
It could be a tennis game.
it could be.
You
Yeah.
never know.
Top spin. All right.
Covered a bit in this podcast.
Yeah, I think that's quite a bit. It's one of our longer video episodes. So,
Dune 2, Last Airbender, and Spider-Man game.
yeah. Okay, we'll probably wrap it up there. So if people want to get in touch with us and especially tell us their thoughts about Dune, how do they go about it?
So you can contact us on all social media platforms at Cognitive Recalibration.
At gmail.com.
Or, email us at cognitiverecalibrationpodcast@gmail.com. Yeah.
And if you want to support the podcast, you can obviously give us a subscribe on this channel and give us a like on this video. And if you're listening to us on audio, then give us a review on iTunes or Spotify.
Sick.
Great. So
Thanks for having me on.
thanks for coming on.
Catch me in that Telugu podcast review.
Yes.
Doesn't make sense.
Telugu movie review podcast.
Movie review.
Correct.
Yeah.
I didn't want to correct myself.
But yeah, thanks for coming on, and we'll
Catch you next time.
We'll have you back on for Captain Marvel 3.
Okay.
When they never
I agree
back
with
that
your
movie.
Marvel's review.
Yeah.
It's mid, yeah.
Actually, I probably liked it more than you guys did, to be very honest.
Yeah.
But I also agree it is very mid.
Yeah.
Have you seen Madam Web?
No,
Don't.
Okay.
I'm afraid to say. Yeah.
Don't.
Yeah.
Actually do. It's kind
watch
of
it for
funny.
Kind of
Sydney
funny.
Sweeney.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think next we've got I think the next big release is Ghostbusters.
Roadhouse does come out next week.
What the
Gotta
hell's
watch
that?
Do you know the Jake Gyllenhaal Roadhouse movie?
Yeah.
It's coming straight to Amazon though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What is it about?
It's a remake of a 1980s. What's that guy's name? He's in
A horror?
that Keanu Reeves movie. That's
Yeah. Point Break.
Point Break. Who's the guy from that?
Who's the other guy? We're not 80s people, so like you're probably
He's
yelling
in,
at us.
Dirty
Mate, you're
Dancing.
80s, mate.
He's a Dirty
Right.
Dancing.
I guess I fall under.
Dirty Dancing. Ghost.
Yeah, it was a
Who is
Ghost.
this guy?
Oh, Patrick Swayze.
Patrick Swayze.
Yes.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
Patrick Swayze 1980s movie called Roadhouse, where he's a bouncer at a bar. And it's a remake of that. Yeah.
No.
All right.
We might watch that. We may not watch it. Yeah. Yeah.
Probably Ghostbusters. We still need to review
Why you want to watch Ghostbusters?
Ghostbusters Afterlife.
I'll review Roadhouse and you review Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters. What's the new one? Frozen Empire. or
Frozen
something?
Empire.
Well, let's do a Christmas special soon, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
we're joking.
Christmas in July. We'll do.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Yeah.
May. Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Cool.
April it is.
Right.
No worries. Thanks everyone for listening. Thanks for spending some part of your day with us, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
See ya.
See ya.